Hey everybody, Mr. D here. I'm going to go through with you the directions for your summer reading project. If you haven't done so already, please check out the other video, how to write a thesis statement, before we get into this. All right, let's get started. So hopefully you've already read The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger over the summer. If not, you do have a little time to get it done, but I would get on that sooner rather than later. So this is a 65-point secondary grade, so you want to make sure that you are staying on top of it. And I would like this submitted to the Google Classroom page under the assignment bank. And this is going to be due October 2nd. So you want to make sure you have this done by October 2nd. Okay. So what are our objectives here? 1, we want to identify and analyze the author's purpose of writing this work. We also want to analyze the author's use of symbolism, and theme, and character development. We want to write a proper thesis statement. And we want to ensure that all analysis supports the thesis. These are our goals. Okay? So for this assignment, you will work independently. The final product will be a slideshow that illustrates your understanding of the literary techniques in the novel. The focus of the assignment will be to answer these questions. Number 1, what is the author's purpose? And number 2, what symbol or symbols best support or supports the author's purpose? So you'll choose from a topic provided in the list below. So if we go down here, you'll see we have some topics to focus on. Now you'll see some of them are symbols, right? Something like Pensy Prep would be a symbol, or the ducks in Central Park. Some of them, the Museum of Natural History, another symbol. Some of them are themes, right? Hypocrisy, phoniness, the loss of innocence. Right, some of them are characters: Jane Gallagher, Sally Hayes, Robert Ackley, Ward Stradlater, etc., etc. So depending on what you pick, it's kind of frame your presentation. So if I were to pick, let's say, Sally Hayes, right, how does she contribute to an overall message or theme in the novel, right? The author's purpose, how does she contribute to that? What might the ducks in Central Park represent? What does the author use to develop the theme of phoniness, etc., etc.? So again, depending on what you pick, that'll kind of give you a direction of where to go. You want to let me know which of these topics you've picked by September 14th. Okay. There will be a place on the Google Classroom page where you can just very simply let me know which topic you are going to be focusing on. Back to the top. If we look here, the author's purpose is their goal in sharing his or her work with an audience. For this assignment, you should first identify Salinger's purpose of including your chosen topic, whether it's a theme, a person, or a symbol, and then identify a symbol that can be paired with it. Now, again, some of these are symbols, so if you pick one of the symbols, you can connect it to purpose. If you pick one of the themes, you can connect that to purpose and choose a symbol that helps develop that theme. All right, again, your choice. Okay. Consider how he uses that particular symbol to convey the purpose. So this assignment, look at the directions, will serve as a culminating assessment of your summer reading. You will work independently to create a Google slide presentation as your final project. It must be in Google Slides. Okay? You are going to submit the slides presentation to me in the Google Classroom assignment, and you'll be all set. So your thesis must include the author's purpose, the topic, and the related symbol. If you want to do more than one symbol, that's your choice. This assignment will be submitted again to a posted Google Classroom. As a supplement to your presentation, you must include presenter notes. Now, typically, if we were going to be live in school, you would be presenting these to the class, but due to the circumstances that we're in this year, instead of the presentation, you're just going to include presenter notes, which would be essentially what you would say in your presentation. Okay? So, when you submit it, you're going to label your submission this way. Okay? Last name, comma, first name, and then the title. Now, this is going to be, you see here, 4 slides, and we break down the slides is exactly what I want to see in them. So in slide 1, this is your title slide. If you were to give the book a different title, what would it be? That's the thing. You don't want to just write The Catcher in the Rye. Give it a new title. And I'll show you in the example that we have what that means. Now, in your presenter notes, you need to include a brief explanation of the quote. Not of the quote, of the, that should say title. Let's get rid of that. Of the title, okay? Little typo there. You also want to include a proper MLA formatted heading at the bottom right of the slide. So this right here is the format of a proper MLA heading. Your first name and last name, teacher's name, that's me, D'Antonio. Honors English 3, class number whatever, or Accelerated English 3, class number whatever. All right? And then the day, month, and year that it's due. So, for example, I would maybe write, let's say, Tommy student. I'm in D'Antonio's class. I'm in, Excel, English 3, expression 5, and this is due October 2nd. So I would put 2 October 2020. Okay? And again, that goes on the bottom right of the slide. Next is your thesis slide. So on the slide itself, you should have the thesis statement only. Okay? And again, you want to check out that how to write a thesis statement presentation. Now, in your presenter notes, provide a brief explanation of your thesis, and I'll show you what I mean by that in the example. Slide number 3 is your direct quote. You only put the direct quote, no commentary on the slide itself. And you want to make sure it's properly cited for a direct quote, and I'll show you the example. So, when I mean direct quote, what I mean is, we'll zoom in here. Direct quotes are word for word from the text. They're surrounded by parentheses, not parentheses, quotation marks. At the end of your quote, you put no period there, nothing there, okay? Parentheses, author's last name, a space with no comma or anything, page number, and parentheses, and then the period. Okay, that's the proper MLA citation for a direct quote. And then, in your presenter notes, explain how your direct quote supports your thesis. You must also explain how it supports the symbol you chose, right? So how does it support your overall idea? How does the symbol play in, etc.? Now, slide 4 is your paraphrase, and just like above, it's the paraphrased quote only. So here's an example of a paraphrase. Now, you'll notice with the paraphrase, no quotation marks, right? Nothing there, nothing there. But you still put the parentheses, author's last name, space with no anything, page number, and parentheses. Period still goes at the end, right? Not here, here, okay? Right there. Now, as you're in your presenter notes, again, you want to explain how the paraphrased quote supports your thesis. Now, you must also explain how the symbol plays in. For your presentation, you must paraphrase, I'm going to put this in a different color so you can see it. You must paraphrase a different quote than that found on slide 3. In this example here, I used the same quote to show you the difference between a direct quote and a paraphrase, but in your presentation, you're going to choose a totally separate quote to paraphrase. I'll show you in the example that I have. Now, your presenter notes should be in complete sentences, provide adequate analysis, and be free of grammar and spelling errors. Okay? Down here, we have the breakdown of how you'll be graded. All right, you want to include the title, a new title, proper MLA heading, and then a little presenter note explaining why you retitled the book. Thesis statement is written correctly. Again, refer to the other presentation. You're not going to read it because it is going to be in your presenter notes, but your presenter notes should explain your thesis clearly. Slide 3, include a correctly cited direct quote. Okay. Presenter notes explain in a clear and concise manner. It's a strong understanding of the author's purpose and the symbol. Clear how the example, this is important, and clear how the example supports the thesis statement. All right. Slide 4, it includes a correctly cited paraphrase example. Again, you're not going to read it because of the situation, but your presenter notes should explain the paraphrase, show a strong understanding of the purpose and the symbol. How does it support the thesis statement? Okay, that should all be in your presenter notes. You want to make sure your material is proofread, avoid grammatical errors, and your presenter notes should essentially be a script of what you would have said if you were presenting to the class. They should be in complete sentences and provide adequate analysis, be free of spelling and grammar errors. Okay? Do all that and you'll get your 65 points. Let's look at an example. So my first slide, I retitled, so this is in regards to All Quiet on the Western Front. Okay? Most, if not all of you, may have read this last year. So I retitled it, Oh, the Horror, and you'll see down here in my presenter notes, okay, I chose to rename this novel Oh, the Horror because it focuses on the horrors of war rather than the glory. There you go. There's my explanation. And you'll notice my presenter notes, even things like this, right? We italicize novel titles, so I italicized it there, right? Capitalization, proper punctuation, etc. My second slide, this is my thesis slide. So, throughout All Quiet on the Western Front, here I have the title. Eric Maria Remarque, here I have the author, demonstrates the devastating effects of and brutality of the war through the experience of the men. All right, this is the purpose, to demonstrate the devastating effects of war, etc. Through the experience of men and the passing along of Kemmerich boots. This is my symbol, right? So we have all the parts that we need for the thesis. Title, author, purpose, symbol. And then you'll notice down here, my presenter notes. The author wanted this novel to be a more realistic representation of war than that of other war novels of the time. Typically, stories of this ilk focus on the heroism and glory of war, but not the harsh reality that it is a living hell that strips men of their humanity. He used the boots as a symbol of this loss of humanity. As the men pass the boots from person to person as each owner dies, the boots become more valuable than human life. Now, I might lose a point here because look what I have. A typo that should say men, right? So, what does this tell me I need to do? Oops. Obviously not spell. What does this tell me I need to do? Remember to proofread. Okay. My next slide. This is my direct quote. You'll notice I have my quotation marks, my proper MLA citation. Okay. We have lost all feeling for one another. We can hardly control ourselves when our glance lights on the form of some other man. We are insensible, dead men who, through some trick, some dreadful magic, are still able to run and kill. Now down here, my presenter notes. Here, Paul reflects on the idea that war reduces men to their most basic animal instincts. The horror of the war erases all humanity and leaves only the will to survive. This is a contrast to other war stories of the time which focus on glory and heroism rather than the reality of Paul's experience, that of a bunch of scared boys driven to kill so that they can survive a war which has nothing to do with them. This idea is echoed in Kemmerich's boots, which are passed from one man to the next as each one is slaughtered in turn. So you'll see I have a direct relationship. Oops, oh my goodness, what's happening? I have a direct relationship to my thesis. We talk about the devastating effects of war, how Kemmerich's boots come into play. Okay? So let's scroll down. This is my final slide. Now this is my paraphrase slide. So you'll notice no quotation marks, but we still have the MLA citation. My paraphrase quote, you'll see, is from a totally different page. This is from page 103. Up here, this is from page 39. All right, so that's what you need to do too. Take a different quote from a different part of the story. So it says, Paul stabs a man in the midst of battle but doesn't fully kill him. As the man screams in pain, gurgling on his own blood, Paul considers stuffing dirt in his mouth to muffle his cries because he cannot bring himself to finish the job. But at the same time does not want the man's cries to reveal his location for fear that the enemy will kill him. So the brutality of war is again developed here. That's the purpose, bringing it back to the thesis. Paul's horrible choice shows the depths to which battle brings a person. In any other situation, Paul would drop everything and help his fellow man. But here, in a muddy foxhole, bombarded by bullets and explosives, Paul can only callously silence the other man's screams. This idea is further represented in the boots, right? Again, there's that symbol, which then passed from person to person with no emotion for their dead brother in arms who last wore them. The boots to them become more valuable than the lives of their fellow man. Again, we bring it back to that idea of stripping humanity, of brutality of war, etc. Bringing it right back to the thesis. All right, guys, that is it. If you have any questions, please reach out. Don't forget, you need to let me know which topic you're doing by the 14th, and we want to have this submitted by October 2nd. Let me know if you need any help.